just got played, and thanks for joining us because we are doing our last Gaming Through the Alphabet video. So I hope you've been enjoying the series. If you look in the description of the video below, there are links to all the other videos in the series if you want to go check out any of the ones that you missed. But in this video, it's going to be a little bit different because we're covering Y and Z, being the last letters of the alphabet, but then we're also covering games that start with a number. So we're going to go around and we're going to tell you our favorite game that starts with the letter Y, that starts with the letter Z, and that starts with a number. And we're also going to tell you what's the highest rated game on BoardGameGeek for each of those categories. All right. So Erock, why don't you take it away?
Yes, thank you. Welcome back to our final episode of Gaming Through the Alphabet. And this is our final episode as well. I mean, we did Gaming Through Time, and theoretically in a few years we can put another one of those out, but I don't think anybody's adding any letters to the alphabet anytime soon. So I don't think we'll be revisiting this, except maybe to do the whole thing over again at some point. But yes, as Steve says, today we're doing the letters Y, the letters Z, and a game that starts with a number. So we'll finish out the alphabet and then we'll go to the numbers. So that means we're going to start with the letter Y. So why not? I'll throw mine out there first. So my letter Y game is Yedo. I very much love the game Yedo. To briefly describe it to you, it's like Lords of Waterdeep, except more thematic. I believe, like, that's kind of how I think of it. Basically, Yedo is an ancient term for, what's the capital of Japan? I forget. Tokyo. Yeah. So it was Yedo, it was Edo, now it's Tokyo, kind of a thing. So it's really just that. But it's set way back in the past. And basically, everybody plays a different clan, and you set out on these missions, much like Lords of Waterdeep. Where you go to different places in the marketplace to get weapons, and you get little buildings and pagodas and stuff that you add on to your own little player board, and you go and complete these missions. And I like it. I think it's a little bit more realistic. My one main gripe with Lords of Waterdeep, not that I don't want to get in this big thing with the two of them, but I think it's the most apt comparison. My one big gripe with Lords of Waterdeep is that thematically it makes no sense. I send out 8 warriors and 3 wizards, and none of them come back, but somehow I get 2 rogues and a bunch of money. That doesn't make any sense to me. All right, but Yedo, it makes sense. You use the things that you have, and generally speaking, you don't lose them. When I have a pagoda, I have a pagoda. So if a mission says you need a pagoda, I have it. I'll always have it because I built it and it's right there. It's not going to go away just because I used it this turn. So this game is a little bit more like, it's kind of an engine builder in that sense, because the different weapons and buildings and assistants and whatnot that you can get, you use those to do these kinds of missions. So if I stack up on, like, I don't know, what's nunchucks and a sword and a geisha and a martial arts studio, then I have all that stuff for the rest of the game. So
I want to party with that guy.
Yes. No, I had to give all that away when I started going out with Babe. I'm sorry. So, but I used to have all that stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like, now I have all this stuff, so I can kind of look for the missions to do this stuff instead of basically starting from scratch every time you've completed a mission and turn everything in. I really like Yedo. It's a bit on the long side, but it does scale, and you can kind of cut it to what you like to play as far as length goes. But I think it really shines when you play the very long game, because there's different levels of missions. You start with like really easy, and then it goes all the way up to like really hard. And the really hard ones are really hard. You need so many different things to complete the missions. It basically takes you the whole game just to gather that much stuff together to be able to do these really hard missions. But again, I feel like that's really where the game shines, when you can finally bring it all together and complete these big, like, giant tsunami missions all at one time. It's like, look what I did. It's so awesome. But I really like Yedo. I've liked it since it came out. I got we have the newest Kickstarter version still sitting on the shelf in shrink, but that's on our list. We're going to get there because I really like Yedo. So that's my Y game. So we're going to move on from me, and we will go to Lloyd. Lloyd, what is your Y game?
These N letters are so difficult. There's nothing that I looked at lists and I was like, man, I want to play that game. That would be cool, but I never got around to it or just didn't even know it existed. So the only thing I can possibly go with is a classic, and I'm sure everyone's played it, and people probably hate playing it, but it's the original rolling, right? Yahtzee.
Yeah, Yahtzee.
That's a good game.
Yeah. And other games have, aped the mechanic of, rolling and doing, like King of Tokyo, as I described it, as Yahtzee with, punching. But Yahtzee, you're rolling 5 dice and you're trying to get the highest amount of 1 through 6 on the top half of the score sheet. And on the bottom, you're looking for 4 of a kind, 3 of a kind, a large and a small straight, the titular Yahtzee, which we just played the other day. And I did not know if you get another Yahtzee, because it doesn't happen all that frequently. But if you get a second Yahtzee, you get something called a Joker bonus, and you get to fill in something else on the map for free. I was like, that's amazing, because normally when I get the extra Yahtzee, I've just been crossing it off because no one's ever taught me the Yahtzee rule. And I was like, what are these little yellow chips for? And then I started reading the instructions like, this is a Joker. Are you kidding me? So I made sure to get 2 Yahtzees in the last game. And that's like my highest score ever. I got almost 400 points. I was
Clearly,
like, this is ridiculous.
Clearly, you're going to make you're playing Yahtzee wrong video now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So Yahtzee, that's my pick. I play it. It's a quick, fast game whenever we're bored and don't, want to drag out something long, or I'm tired of other rolling rights. Play Yahtzee. It's quick and simple and easy. So
that's a great pick. I almost chose this just to make sure that somebody chose this, because it's so iconic. There are so many games that I've taught to people, and you say, it's Yahtzee, except you do this. It's Yahtzee. And not one person has ever said to me, what's Yahtzee? Everybody knows what Yahtzee is. It's so easy to explain things off of that. So, awesome pick. Okay, moving on. We are going to go to JJ. What is your Y game?
I have a question about Yahtzee. Like, which version? There's a ton of different versions.
It's like saying love letter or something, right?
Yeah, or Uno. I have the Zelda one. You roll in the treasure chest. So, I mean, that changes the whole game up for me right there. So, yeah, Yahtzee, that was actually going to be mine as well. But sorry, 1 second.
Let's go to the judges.
Hello.
Pulling shenanigans.
We're good. Okay. All right. Judges called. I just got a call from the judges. Thank you, Lloyd. And they said I'm good. So I can actually use my Y that I was going to do. And a little side note, Erock, Tiffany, I wish I'd have known you guys sooner, because I would have had a Y game to pick, just like the X game. I was, that's Yedo sounds amazing too, just like Zaya. So, in the last video, that would have been great to play. But I am picking a game because this is what got me started in board gaming. It's not technically a board game, but this is what got me started, because when I started playing and going to tournaments, I actually had to go into game stores. I'm looking around at all these boxes and I'm like, what the heck is this stuff? So that actually broke me out of my shell, because I'm very introverted, going to game stores and then getting all into the culture. And then, once I actually found board game people, I'm like, oh, I already know what this stuff is. I just never played it before. And it is on the geek list, so technically it does still count, even without the judges saying anything. And
that's a trap card, I think.
Yes, I am. You are correct, sir. Stop guessing what I'm doing. You're messing my stick up. It is Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! The card game. I watched the TV show for many years, and then I actually started playing when I was like 22. So I'm very late for the crowd, but I started playing in college, played for 7 years until it just got too complicated. It's on the BGG list, so it technically counts. That's what got me started moving away from video games. I was very much a video game player until I started going to the tournaments every weekend, and that made the transition to board games. I'm like, this is better interacting with people rather than just playing games online. Had a good friend group in that, and I moved to Florida, and then I found a board game group. I was like, oh, you played board games? And then I bought Legendary, and the story. It goes. It grew. I had a bin at one point, and everybody knew I just had all my games in the bin. It's like, James, bring your bin, and I would bring my bin, and then eventually it grew out of the bin, and it's like, I can't do that anymore. You got to tell me what games you want me to bring. So, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! That's what started it all. Good 7 years. I spent so much money on that. Oh. Yeah, and then they just changed the rules, but I'm not even going to get into that. They just made it way too complicated now, way too expensive. And I still watch the TV show every now and then, but yeah, that's it for me. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Excellent. Just a side commentary here. I don't think I can remember a time in my life when I could carry all my games on me. Even when I was a kid, like I was just so much into games. I had just a closet full of games. If somebody said, bring all your games, I'd have been like, yeah, I can't do that. And can you imagine that now, babe?
You don't need a U-Haul.
Yeah, I mean,
like we're having a game night. You guys bring all your games. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean,
it didn't last very long.
We had Dark Tower, right? Like as a kid, you're like,
right.
Dark Tower.
Right, exactly. All right.
That was very,
Monopoly
and stuff like that, but yeah, so.
Well, yeah, of course, everybody had the obligatory Monopoly.
No, you can't say of course. There's still people I find that don't know how to play Uno. I said this before. I still say it now, or know what a trick-taking game is.
Yeah, but they know Yahtzee. They know Yahtzee.
That's true. Everybody knows Yahtzee.
I'm going to find one person. I'll take a picture of that person, put it in the Discord. There's somebody that doesn't know how to play Yahtzee out there.
Indeed. Okay, that leaves us with one more Y choice. So, Steven, what is your Y game?
You guys complained a lot about Y, but I don't think we've had any crossover, have we?
No. To be fair, I lied. There were two more Y choices.
That's right.
Also, so
exactly,
there's still a chance.
None of us
crossover.
And spoiler alert, none of us have crossed over with the Geek yet either. So there's a few Y games out there. So anyway, my Y game, it is not a fantastic game. I think it's a decent game, but one of my kids loves it. And when one of my kids loves a game, that raises it in my estimation, right? Because, my kid wants to play it. I enjoy playing with my kid. So if I were to just play this game with you all, I wouldn't like it nearly as much as I would if I played with my kid, right? And so, but the game my kid likes to play is Yardmaster. And it's a very simple game. Yeah, you're collecting hands of car, oil, whatever, and then you're trading that in for train cars, and you're trying to build a train to get the most, to hit whatever the point value is you're supposed to hit for that game to win. And your train cars have restrictions, right? So if you put a train car, it either has to match the type of the car in front of it or the number of the car in front of it. Because, like some cars are a 4 card, so you need to play, say, 4 oil to get the 4 oil car or whatever. And there's even a Breaking Bad promo for this, where you remove one of the things in the whatever the yellow good is, maybe it's oil, and you replace it with methylamine or whatever. In the show, they rob a train car of that in the show. So anyway, I play with that with my kids. They don't even know what it is. But it's a simple game, and there's some special cards in there too. There's these exchange tokens that say, hey, I have the 3-to-1 exchange token, so I can use this type of good as a wild, essentially, or whatever. And people could swap those tokens and other stuff with those special cards. And it's just really simple gameplay, and everybody seems to like trains, I guess. So again, it's a decent game, but if you play with kids, it's a better game. And there's also a Yardmaster Express, and that is not a decent game. I thought that was awful. I got rid of that. So don't get those confused. It's another smaller train card game, but ignore it. Yardmaster is where it's at if you're going to play with kids.
That's interesting. I actually had both of those for a while. So when you said the name, that was genuine surprise, because Yardmaster's okay. I don't think it would have been on any of my favorite lists, but I never considered it for playing with kids. And you're probably right. It's probably fantastic for that. So excellent. So now we only have one Y choice left. Babe, what is your choice for the letter Y?
Well, I don't have to say much because a lot of it has already been said, because it is a crossover. So this was a great game that I played. Oh God, I guess I was maybe in college, but I thought I was in high school when I played. I could be wrong, but it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was such a great game, and it was on the Geek list, so it's totally valid because they listed it there. So judges, they said it.
It's a tabletop card game. Why not?
Yeah. Magic's on there. Pokemon's on there.
Exactly.
There's, if you start adding that, I could have changed all my list, but yeah.
Indeed. Okay, so we did end up having one crossover here. So, Steven,
But
what
that
about
means-
the geek?
That means nobody crossed over with the geek.
Really?
But I'm going to throw it back to you, Erock, because I think I see it sitting over your shoulder. And that is Yokohama.
Yokohama. This actually made my short list. I did not think it would actually beat out some of the names that we have here, but this is a really good game. I very much enjoy this game. Just to give you kind of a brief overview, first of all, there's a lot going on. I'm going to start with that. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of different boards in this game, and they're all important. There's technology, there's the church, there's, oh my goodness, there's ports, there's, what else is there? Like a different port, and there's just so much going on. And the city itself is kind of randomly constructed with all these places, which is made up of different kinds of things. Like you go to this place to get silk, or you go to this place to get copper, or you go to this place to get fish. And the way it works is you put out either 2 or 3 of your assistants on your turn. You put them out, and you can put them anywhere on the map, basically, anywhere in the city. All right. And you can either put 2 in one place or 3 in different places. Then you move your, I forget what he's called, manager, administrator, or something like that. But you move basically yourself along a chain of your assistants to wherever you want to stop. And there you add up all the assistants and yourself and any buildings you might have there. And that's the power of that space. So as a, for instance, if I have myself, say 3 assistants and 2 buildings on a spot, that means I have a power of 5. So if I do that on a fish spot, I'm going to get 5 fish as opposed to 4 fish for 4 or 3 fish for 3, etc. down the line. So that's kind of the way this game works, is you try to build these spaces up to hit them with bigger numbers. And when you hit them with the really big numbers like 4 or 5, that's when you can put one of your buildings down on the spot as well. So that's basically how this game works. You put out your assistants, and then you can travel in a line to wherever you can among them, and wherever you stop, you pull the assistants off and leave yourself there, but you process that space for that value. I think it's a really interesting game. The decision space it's kind of confusing at first because there is a lot going on. You have to try to figure out how to get all these different things working to your advantage on all these different boards, because everything's important. Technology is important. The ports are important. There's just another minor detail here. There's these little flags that you can collect in the game, and when you get a set of them, then you get an extra little bonus marker, which then gives you a chance to take another action on a turn at some point. That's just an example of there's a lot going on in this game. But I also feel that once you really start to understand it, it does make sense. And then it really starts to crunch together like the wheels interlocking in your brain, trying to get, now if I put a guy here and a guy here and a guy here, then in 2 turns I can go there. When I put another guy there, and I'll be able to cap that off at 5. But I still need to put a guy over here to make sure I can get there when I move through the map, which again, sounds extremely complicated, but when you play it, it starts to make sense. And it's just a really good, very Euro game. And I like it a lot. Yokohama.
I 100% agree with you. I played it once, a couple times, and had a chance to buy it. I bought it, but yeah, a lot going on, very high learning curve. It's definitely one of those games you put on the shelf, and it's like, if I teach people how to play this, we got to play this like 5 times. Otherwise, I'm going to forget how to play it, and I'm going to forget how to teach it, and then they're going to forget, and you got to spend another hour teaching the game. But yeah, very interesting. It's on my back here somewhere. So yeah, I agree with you. A lot going on.
And just as I've said many, many times, this is also on Board Game Arena, and that makes it a lot easier because you can really hover over things and try to understand what's going on as you're doing them. So I highly recommend it on the Board Game Arena. I'm a big fan of Board Game Arena.
Are you getting paid on the slide by Board Game Arena?
I wish, because I would be rich, man. I'm just like their free shill. That's all I am. So, excellent. That rounded out our Ys. So we're going to move right into the letter Z. I'm telling you right now, I cheated. So, because the letter Z was terrible for me. I really could not find a lot on Z. So I will save my cheating for later. So let's start with Steve. Steve, what did you pick for the letter Z?
I really like my Z pick. I was inspired by it. I used it sort of as an inspiration for one of my board game designs that not as of yet published, although it's had a couple of contracts signed, but maybe it will never. I don't know. But that my game is Zooloretto, which there's also a version of this game called Coloretto, but I like the zoo themed one better. And I guess I describe it as an I split you choose. Because the main mechanism in the game is you're trying to fill your zoo up with different species of animals. And you want to you'll decide that certain pins in your zoo are going to have this kind of animal. And so you want to get more of that animal, but you don't want to get animals that don't fit in your pins because then they go in your barn and they can be negative points. So certainly when you take it's essentially a pile, you want some things, but you don't want other things. And that's where a lot of the interesting gameplay comes, because on your turn, they're called delivery trucks, and each delivery truck has 3 spots on it. You can take a truck and that ends your turn. You put that in your zoo and then you're out for the rest of the round. And you can take a truck that has nothing on it or just one thing on it or whatever, for whatever reason. But otherwise you can draw out of the bag, you can look look at the piece that you drew and put it on a delivery truck. So now you're going to decide, oh man, I want this piece. So what am I going to do? Am I going to put it with some other valuable piece? And then is it going to get around to me? Am I going to be able to take that? Or is somebody going to else take it if I put those things together? Or you'll draw something out of the bag and you're like, I really don't want this, but I know Lloyd wants that truck over there that has 2 monkeys on it. So I'm going to put this thing on there that has 2 monkeys. He doesn't want this lion. So now he's going to be stuck with that lion, So I like that gameplay, and there's a million expansions to this. And, there's other decisions, like you can decide to spend money to unlock another pin. But, if you do that too late, then you're not going to be able to put stuff in your pen. It's not really worth it. And there's buildings that you get as well as your animals. And, but it is not a complicated game. I play this with my kids, who are 8 years old. And they have no problem playing it. In fact, we have the Pokemon version of it, which is not an official version. It's like print and play. So they, instead of getting lions and tigers and bears, we're getting, Pokemon, Pikachus and Voltions or whatever,
say the names wrong, Steve. We'll get all kinds of comments. Say the names.
Jolteon, Flameon, whatever. I don't know.
Flareon?
Flareon, yeah. And but actually the Pokemon one has Dittos, which you can make any other thing. So they're like wild. That's not in the normal game. Oh, and also I guess I should have mentioned one other interesting thing is if you get a male and a female together in a zoo, they'll make a baby. Right. And so that gives you, so it makes some pieces worth more than other pieces. Like, well, that's a monkey, but that's a male monkey. Like I want the, mature male monkey for mating purposes or whatever. So anyway,
I'm so going to quote you out of context. Just saying.
Screen grab.
Hey man, the birds and the bees, right? It's nature. All right. I don't care what you say.
You're into, you know what I'm saying?
You put some rabbits together and you can see how it works, man. If you need some.
So we're talking about you wanting to mate with a monkey. That's what I heard. I want the big male monkey to mate. That's what I heard.
You literally just said that, Lloyd.
I'm the editor.
2 screen caps.
All right, but anyway, none of that detracts from the fact that Zooloretto is an excellent game.
That's excellent. That's actually like the only Z game. Well, no, there was like 3 that I've heard of. I just hadn't played it. So just previewing my cheat. Let's try this. Is anybody here not cheating on Z? Yeah, okay, Lloyd. You may go next, sir. Lloyd, what is your Z game?
Well, just real quick, back in the end video, I couldn't remember what my original choice was. I couldn't remember at the time when I chose Napoleon that you made fun of me for, but whenever he said, I split you choose, it instantly came back to me, and I wanted to remind myself. It was New York Slice. That was going to be my end game, because it was the only other end game I had played. So
that's a good game.
Small deterrent there, but he said it, and it just clicked into my brain, which is odd that it happened. But my Z game is, it made the list on the F video by Tiffany, but she chose a different version of it. It's Zombie Fluxx.
Oh.
Yes.
And it does say Zombie Fluxx. It doesn't say Fluxx Zombie. It's Zombie Fluxx.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I could choose it is because that's the only Z game I had played. I've never played Zombicide. I went through the list. Nothing else was on there. I've seen Zooloretto. It's never made it to the table. So Zombie Fluxx. Basic Fluxx is every turn you are basically playing cards that either put out new rules, put out new goals, or you're putting out keepers that you're trying to get to make the goal to win the game. Zombie Fluxx adds a little wrinkle into it with something called creepers. And creepers are zombies. And when you get them, you have to play them in front of you, and they're bad. You don't want to have zombies in front of you. That's really the only big difference between Fluxx and Zombie Fluxx is that they included these creepers. And it's the same basic gameplay of Fluxx, except some of the rules you want to have creepers in front of you. You want to have a specific number of creepers in front of you. But it's just all zombie themed. So, you'll be looking for the keys and the gas and the car that's the goal to get away, or an axe, a chainsaw, or whatever to kill the zombies. But that's the basic game. It kind of overstays its welcome because you can win, but you have those stupid zombies in front of you. So I actually think it's probably worse than regular Fluxx because it adds that extra wrinkle that makes it harder to end the game. And Fluxx is supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be fairly quick. Like, you don't want to be playing an hour-long Fluxx, but it happens with zombies because those zombies just keep getting passed around. And there's like some rule with zombies. If you don't moan when you play them or something, other people can like do it for you and then give you the zombie, their zombie or something.
You're really selling it, Lloyd.
Yeah.
I'll say you'll get more and more interested.
It's not a great game, but it's the only Z, and I ain't cheating like you, sir. And I own it. I do own it because I wanted to buy it.
You are very
Zombie
legit.
Fluxx.
Yes, sir.
I have a tip. I have a tip for you cheaters, by the way. And I know this because I used to own the Polish version of Castles of Mad King Ludwig. So close your ears if you're Polish. But castle in Polish is Zamski. So Castles of Burgundy, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, any game you can think of that starts with castles is a Z game in Polish. Just throw that out there.
Quite frankly, I saw that when I was researching, but I thought that was too much cheating, Mr. Chess. Okay,
Yeah.
so just
Xadrez.
yes, excellent. All right, so let's let the cheating commence. Who do I think cheated the least? I think I probably cheated the least, so I'm going to go ahead and do mine. So my Z game is a game from a niche company. What do you call it? A boutique company that when I kind of started getting back into the gaming, they really caught my attention. I really like this company. I like the way they make games, and I like their philosophy and how their games work. That company is Splotter Spellin, and the game that I'm talking about is the Great Zimbabwe. See, I only cheated a little bit. It's Zimbabwe, Z, right? But I actually really like the Great Zimbabwe. I think it's Splotter's best game. I know everybody loves Food Chain Magnate and everything, but I love the Great Zimbabwe. I think it's fantastic. It's basically a pick up and deliver game, kind of. You basically need to set up these routes to build your temples, right? And the resources are out there on the map, but the craftsmen are the only ones that can manipulate the resources, but they have to be within 3 spots of one. But you can use your little temples, now not your big monuments, but you can use like your little temples. I know I'm using the wrong terminology here, but to kind of build routes, so to use them as hubs. So this is a game about route making and then delivering things to build your temple. All right. That's a pretty, all right. Well, I was going to say that's a pretty simple. It's not. That gets a little bit, it's kind of tough in the headspace trying to figure these route systems out and everything. But that's not what really pushes this game past that level for me. For me, I love the fact that everybody starts with basically the same expectation, but there's a number of gods in this game. And at some point in the game, if you want to, you can choose one of these gods. And this is going to give you a special ability for the rest of the game and increase the number of points that you need to win. So, depending upon how powerful your special ability is also going to depend upon how many more points than the base number you need to win the game. So if I get the most powerful thing going on, I'm going to need a lot more points than the base number of points. Whereas I could choose a simpler god with an easier power and maybe only add 4 or 5 points to the base number of points to win the game. So I really like this. Each of the gods is unique. Once somebody chooses one, that one's out. So if, I was kind of like building my strategy up to take this one god, and then all of a sudden somebody chose it, now I got to do something completely different because there's only one of each kind anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I like this on top of that route building going on that is very competitive cooperative, the way the route going works, because everybody's trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to connect the stuff to the craftsman to send it to your monuments. And I really like this game. Like I said, it's my favorite Splotter. I just think it's really good. It's probably going to make my top 50 list for forever. So the Great Zimbabwe.
At one point, you said simple when you were talking about a Splotter game.
Yeah, I
was
know.
like, wait, what?
I had to backtrack off that
because their games are all medium heavy to heavy, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Plus, they're notorious. Some of their games, especially Food Chain Magnate, for if you make a mistake early, you're probably done. I don't feel that's true in the Great Zimbabwe because it's more of a communal space that you're sharing, but their games lean that way. So yeah, they're niche, they're boutique, but I really like this one. So that's my Z game. So, and my cheater. So let's go to JJ. JJ, how did you cheat?
Hold on, I'm getting a phone call again. No. Oh, okay. They said no. Pass. All right, so request denied. I didn't play Zombicide. And Zombie Fluxx was a good one. That was good.
Really.
There's a lot of games that have zombies in them, so I just picked zombies. The theme. Any game that has
zombies.
What's your favorite zombie themed game?
Well, there is a game called Zombies, so
That's true.
I played that. And I didn't like it. We actually had somebody leave the table during the game. It was too complicated.
But what is your favorite zombie themed game?
Okay, so Resident Evil, the deck building game, technically. There's not like zombies coming at you per se, but I like the video game and the movies, so I'll use that. Dead of Winter was good, but I just think most zombie games, they just overstay their welcome. Like Zombies lasted way too long. I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I'm rolling and I'm trying to get it. But then there's more zombies. It's like, okay.
So you're cheating on your Z to pick a theme that you don't like.
No, well, I'm sure there's like a Walking Dead game out there I'll like eventually or something.
Do you like Bang the Dice game?
I know about that one.
Or Bang, because there's a Walking Dead version of that.
Yes, yeah, that's no.
Zombie Dice. I almost chose Zombie Dice.
I owned Munchkin Zombies at one point.
Hey, there you
too
go.
bad. Yeah, so yeah, zombies. Man, they stick around for too long. I liked Dead of Winter for like the first 3 quarters, and then after that, it's like, oh, God, can we just play a different game now? Yeah. So Resident Evil. I just, it's a deck builder and it's different how they do it. So that would be my closest zombie themed game. So all right. I cheated and I don't feel bad about it.
Good luck, Mr. Editor, about deciding which game to put over there.
I'll put one from each of the games that I talked about.
There could be like 15 chapters right there.
It's just going to be pictures of zombies on the screen.
I mean, you could put Zombicide on there. I haven't played it yet and everybody loves it. So I'll put, that could be my Z, I guess.
Decidedly not everybody loves it, but all right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have now seen 2 versions of how to cheat. Let's check out one more. Babe, what is your Z game?
My cheating is not nearly as much as your cheating. You cheated with 2 words, the great.
Wait, well, the doesn't count.
Yeah, sure it does. It's 2 words.
El Grande.
Right.
I'm cheating with 1 letter, and it's silent, and that's why it doesn't count. Is because it's silent.
Oh, I know.
So my winner of my favorite Z game is Tzolk'in. It's
Excellent.
fabulous. It's
that is much better than both of them.
Yeah.
Tzolk'in is a phenomenal worker placement game where you are placing guys, and the board is made up of gears that spin, and so you have to time the placement and then the removal of these guys so that you get the best power for the time that you spent with them on that gear. So it's just a really great worker placement. It's a really great resource management. It's a really great game, and the T is super silent. So Tzolk'in.
You're right. Yours at least sounds like it starts with a Z. So
Yeah.
Plus, I really like Tzolk'in as well. Babe and I have played a lot of games of this. This is one of those. I almost can't believe how old this game is because it still feels fresh and relevant. Whereas a lot of the times you play a game from 10, 15 years ago and you're like, oh, this is definitely, I can see the age here. It needs an update on mechanisms. But Tzolk'in's just a really good game, man. I still enjoy a lot of Tzolk'in. So good choice, babe. All right, Steve.
They do call it the first of the T games, though.
Yes, that's true. There's a whole line of them now. And babe, we've actually played a bunch of those. But I won't get into all that now. Anyway. Steve, is the geek going to cheat also?
So, interestingly enough, if I wanted to, it would be really high because I'd go with the Castles of Burgundy, Zombicide, something or another, right? Number 11, But instead, we have the game which I'm pretty sure is the lowest rated game on BoardGameGeek that made any of these videos.
Hey,
because
congratulations.
it's over 200, just over 200. It was on like the 3rd page I was looking at. But it is Zombicide Black Plague. So Zombicide is 10 years old now. In fact, I may have played it 10 years ago. I mean, there's so many zombie games. I'm confused about which one that was that I played so long ago before I started logging plays. And I think Lloyd said he played it. But the Black Plague version is generally recognized as a better game, and it's the higher rated one. I think partially because they cleaned up a lot of the rules, made it work a little bit better. I'm not sure. It may also be the theme. So this is a fantasy medieval theme instead of just, post-apocalyptic or modern setting or whatever the other Zombicides are. But, essentially it's a dungeon crawler, right? You can get equipment for your people and you're trying to do, I think, what amounts to missions. You're trying to find the necromancers or whatever and kill them. It basically just survive, right? Survive long enough to complete these goals. And it's a co-op, right? So you're all trying to do that together. And, like I said, haven't played this, so I'm not 100% sure I'm describing that right, but I think I basically got it.
Yeah, it sounds right. I haven't played it either, but I've watched videos. I've read things. You sound like you're nailing it. It's the
a lot
medieval
of minis,
fantasy version of Zombicide, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of minis, and it is very popular, even if it's not very highly rated, right? There are plenty of games that are super popular, even if they're not highly rated. This is one of them.
Indeed. Okay, that pretty much wraps up the Z and the entire alphabet. So we're going to go one more time around the horn, and we're all going to choose a game that starts with a number. And I don't think there was really any need to cheat on this one, so we'll see what happens going around this way. Why don't we start with
challenge accepted?
The best cheater. Yes, I'm going to go with JJ. JJ, what is your number game?
Oh, what? I'm getting another phone. Okay, so I actually have a letter or number. What are we on now? We're on numbers, right? Okay.
Numbers.
I'm going to go with a game that I like very much because it calls back to my childhood. How, most people, I would say most people, not everybody, played trick-taking games. We talked about it before. Some people haven't, but most people have. So this one is very simple, and they added a little bit to it. I was going to pick diamonds, but that's not a number. But anything that takes the trick-taking aspect and then changes it just a little bit, I end up liking. So my number game is 5 crowns. I played it once and I was like, why is it 5 crowns? Oh, there's a 5th suit. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I was playing, I was like, okay, this changes it up enough. I played poker, you know what I'm saying? I played hearts. I had owned diamonds at that time. And then, of course, well, most people have played spades growing up. So I'm like, oh, this is great. This changes it up enough. Plus, you can play up to 6 people. I was like, bam, simple. So I like to take that aspect of it a little bit because you can take somebody's number. Anybody play gin, rummy? This, you know, so you have a hand of cards and you're drawing a card and you're playing a card and you're playing books and sets, just like gin and rummy. But what's different about this besides the 5th suit is that you start with 3 cards and you work your way all the way up to 11 cards in your hand. So every round you get an extra card, and every round there's a different wild card. So you start with number 3's wild and you work your way all the way up to the king. And then there's the Joker. That you actually play with the Joker in this. So that's pretty cool. So you have those wild cards and you're making books and sets. So I'm just doing math the whole time and I'm seeing what everybody's picking up. So it's, you know, really simple. I like it as a little filler game. You don't have to play all the way to the whatever. And or to the 11th hand, you can just stop whenever you want. And then I like making it so I go out and somebody else has more points. And it's also a good game I can play with my family because they don't really understand board games that much. So this is like, hey, it's like gin and rummy, except for so they understand that. So I can play that with them. So I love it. And I give people it as gifts. So I just like 5 crowns. It just hit me and it was very simple. So no cheating this time.
Cool. Well done, sir. Excellent. So moving on from that, let's go to Lloyd. What is your number game?
So I have a question. Was this an actual number or a word spelled out that is a number?
That's okay.
I think they qualify either way.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It's a
I'm
number,
choosing
whether
an
it's a
actual
number or a
word.
Okay.
So following along with the heavily Marvel themed pick that I keep picking, I'm going with 5 Minute Marvel. 5 Minute Marvel is a time-based co-op game where you are fighting a deck of cards, and every time you flip a card over, it's got a certain number of symbols that you need to play to defeat it. And I think it's like 4 or 5 different symbols in the game. You are working with, I think you can go up to 5 players, but I'm not 100% sure on the player count. But basically, you get a deck of cards, and then in the Marvel version, you have a hero that has a secondary deck of cards that allows you to do something different than everybody else. The ultimate goal is to get through the entire deck and then fight the boss at the end of the stack of cards. And the Marvel one, you can kind of do it in almost like a campaign. You start with the easiest, like Red Skull or something. You work your way up to Thanos. But it is time-based, and you're just flipping a card, and then everyone is trying to like match the suits on the card that you're targeting. But because you're doing it so fast, you might throw down duplicates. And if you run out of cards, then you can't make it through the deck. So you have to, there's a fair amount of communication you kind of have to do in between cards. Like, okay, I got purples on the next round, or I have a lot of greens. Let me play the greens first, or stuff like that. Otherwise, you're going to get through your hand, and then you're just going to sit back and not be able to help. It's very fast. It's very frantic. It says 5 Minute Marvel on the box because that's how long each round lasts. But I've never played a single round of 5 Minute Marvel. It's usually like 25 or 30 minutes because it just sets up really quick. Like you just deal out the cards, you grab your deck, and then you go. It's very quick. And yeah, I think the other one's 5 Minute Dungeon. This is like
the original, right?
Yeah, that was the original one. I think the big difference with 5 Minute Marvel is they gave you that second hero deck that gives you unique cards, so you can choose where to draw your cards from each. After you discard cards, you can choose where to draw from. But yeah, that game's right for an expansion, just because they only had like 6 heroes or 7 heroes in the box. So yeah.
I thought I remembered playing this 5 players, so I just went and checked the BoardGameGeek. It does go up to 5.
Yeah. I don't think I've played it with more than 3 or 4. It gets very frantic.
Yeah, we play this as a family. So this is another one of those games that I I wouldn't play it, I don't think, with adults, but with my kids, it's fun. Yeah, we enjoy it.
That's interesting. That's so far 2 games that I've never even heard of. And that is in no way a criticism. It's just, 2 things I've never heard of. So I'd like to play those. Excellent. Okay, moving on. We're still in the numbers. Steve, what is your number game?
Well, so prepare yourself. Here's another obscure game you've never heard of. 7 Wonders. Right. So I feel like this is the obvious pick here. I think this is probably a game that most people think of when they think of numbers. To be honest, I feel a little bit like It's a Wonderful World is a game that may have replaced 7 Wonders for me, but I still have 7 Wonders. I think 7 Wonders is an excellent game, and I think 7 Wonders is one of those iconic drafting games. There's a million expansions for it, maybe not a million, but there's like 3 or 4 or something.
I think there's 7.
Well, there's Cities and Leaders and,
Yes.
and Armada and Babel, and I don't know anymore. But there's promos and all kinds of extra stuff, and so I have Cities and Leaders. I like those. There's fan expansions to it as well that are pretty good. But you're just drafting cards and building up a tableau, and you could buy resources from your neighbors. You fight wars with your neighbors every age. Yeah, there's 3 ages. And you're basically just trying to build up the most impressive empire and score the most points. You've got, it's asymmetric because you've got your wonder board that is different from everybody else's wonder board. So the cards that you're all picking from are the same. So you're all fighting over the same things, but you have that, at least that little bit of difference. Of course you have leader cards. Those are different too. And it goes actually up to 8 players if you have the cities expansion, which is nice. So I like those higher player count games. And if everybody knows how to play, the game goes really fast. This is a little bit complicated of a teach. Really, I think people who are new to it need to just play it because they're not going to understand it. You teach it and they're going to play it, but they're not going to understand it until they're done. I think they're not going to see how the card combos work. They're not going to understand the symbol. There's a lot of symbology. They're not going to understand the value of the military or other side. There's a lot of little things going on. So there's a lot of games like this where I feel like you don't really understand the game until you played it once. And I feel like 7 Wonders falls in that category. So I know some people say it's a gateway game. I think maybe it's that gateway next, right? After you've played a gateway game, this is one that you could, introduce people to sort of broaden their horizons for more complicated games. But it might work as a gateway for some people. Just not personally wouldn't recommend it, but I do recommend the game. It's a good game, solid game, still in my collection. 7 Wonders.
Yeah, I know. I like this a lot. I'm sure. I know Babe still likes this a lot. But I agree with you. This is a vastly different game. Trying to teach people who have never played it, or just playing with 6 other people who know what they're doing, because that's a quick, it's easy, it's fun, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a really good game. So
yeah,
if you have the expansion.
No, even the base game though, you could just not grab a resource at age 1, and then one of your neighbors has some other, like a trading post or somebody gives it to them, or they're buying it for their neighbor, and now it's just like, oh, I don't have brick for the whole game, and now you're screwed. Exactly. And you didn't know, right?
Yep.
But anyway.
Okay. Another excellent choice on the numbers. Babe, what is your number game?
Well, I appreciate everything you said, Stephen, because that means everything that you said, I don't have to. I am picking and crossing over with Stephen 7 Wonders.
Indeed.
7 thumbs up.
Yes. If only we had
8
that
with the
many.
expansion.
We could manage it.
There you go. I played 7 Wonders early in my gaming career, and really it was my introduction to drafting, and that's one of the reasons it was my introduction to drafting. So for a long time it was one of my favorite games because to me it was the quintessential draft. So I have other games now that I've upgraded to as far as drafting games go, but I will always there will always be a little place in my heart for 7 Wonders and building science.
I know you love this game, babe. I had a feeling it was going to be your game. I wasn't sure, but I had a feeling. And I also, as I've said, both with Steve and now with you, I also love 7 Wonders very much. However, you're both wrong because the superior game is 7 Wonders Duel. I'm sorry. I love 7 Wonders Duel. I like the 2-player aspect of it. All right. Now, I want you to understand. I like Seven Wonders a lot. I enjoy that game, and I try to win. All right? But in most of the games that I've played, I had no influence on the person that actually won that game. Because there are like 3 people away from me from either side, and I have no control over what they're doing. I can't stop them. I can't help them at all.
You can hate draft.
It's from that far around the table. It's too much. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, no, don't get me wrong. I love the game. I have fun when I play it, but I don't expect to win it because I feel like I'm only in control of me and half of what 2 other people are doing. And that's not nearly enough in a 7-player game. In Seven Wonders Duel, it's just me and you. And we're going to play this game out. And it is a little bit different. It's still a drafting game, but it's a different kind of drafting game. Instead of picking one and passing, all the cards are laid out on the table. And it's kind of a mix of an open and a closed draft. It also goes in 3 eras or rounds. And in each round, the cards are set up just a little bit differently. But the basic idea is you see half of them, and half of them are face down. And the ones that are face down only get flipped when the one above it opens it up. So if you think of like the simplest level is a pyramid, right? So on the very top one, once that's gone, now 2 cards are open and they'll flip over if they were to face down. So that kind of a thing. Like the card that's sitting on them, when all the cards off of them are gone, then that one flips over and you get to see what it is. All right, so
pyramid.
Yeah. So like the first level is a pyramid. Then it gets a little weirder with the geometry. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same basic concept for each of the 3 eras, just set up differently. All right. And there's 3 different ways to win this game. I would say probably 95% of the time it's one way. All right. And that is basically by getting points. Just like in regular Seven Wonders, you get points. All right. You accumulate them through the game as you go. All right. There are 2 other ways to win. The one way to win is by military. So in regular Seven Wonders, you have these little wars with your neighbors and you get points from that. In Seven Wonders Duel, there's a slider. All right. At the very beginning of the game, the marker sits in between you and your opponent. And every time you get more military, it goes closer towards you. And if you manage to get all the way to the end of the track, that's it. Game over. You won. All right. Now, that's obviously something that if you can, you stop that from happening. If you can see that there are military cards out there, then you take them before your opponent does so that they don't complete it. But I might let them go pretty wild on it and just stop them when they get towards the end. Now I feel like now they're wasting their time because I let them like get all these military points and then took the last ones away so they couldn't actually finish it while I've been building infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, because of the way the cards and the way they take them off and they flip, you might have screwed yourself because you might flip a couple of cards and they're both military and I don't have a way to get them both off the board and now he's going to win. You know what I'm saying? So that's one way to win the game. The other way to win the game is with science. And just like the military, you can see this happening. So you can probably stop it. And that is, you just need to get all the different science symbols. If you get them all, you win the game instantly. Now, like I said, in probably 95% of games played, or at least in my experience, points ends up being it. Because nobody gets all the symbols, nobody gets all the way to the end, but it is definitely a tension point in the game for both of these things while you're collecting the points that you're going to need to win probably the game. You know what I'm saying? So I really like this system. I like the fact that it's head on, so I feel completely in control of what's going on while at the same time not knowing things. You know what I'm saying? I feel completely in control. If I pick this card up, those 2 are going to flip. If I pick this card up, that's going to leave that open to be picked. At the same time, I don't know what half those cards are. So maybe it's going to screw me over. You never know. I really like that mix of intense strategy with instant win conditions, and I don't know half of the cards. To me, that just comes together beautifully. This is probably my favorite dedicated 2-player game. I love it. Seven Wonders Duel. So I probably talked long enough. So sorry, Steve.
So you said that Seven Wonders Duel is the better game, but I'm here to tell you, Seven Wonders is a top 100 ranked game. It's around 75 on BoardGameGeek, so that's pretty high.
It's pretty good.
Whereas Seven Wonders Duel is merely a top 20 game and is the #1 highest rated on BoardGameGeek game that starts with a number. Yes, Seven Wonders Duel. I haven't played it, but it looks cool. It sounds cool. And I have heard many people say it's a fantastic 2-player game.
It's a fantastic.
Yeah, like 2-player games, it's won the award for best 2-player for what, like 7 years in a row or something?
Well, there's probably a higher rated 2-player game. I haven't checked lately, but Twilight Struggle is still probably rated higher.
But I mean, we're talking
now, yeah.
When
it first came out, though, it won the award like 5-6 years in a row. And
Yeah,
then,
maybe.
Twilight
Struggle
those two,
is older.
Twilight Struggle is like a 4-hour epic, Seven Wonders Duel is like 20 minutes and the game's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had the expansion for Seven Wonders Duel too, which made it even better, apparently.
It's interesting because the original version of Seven Wonders had a 2-player variant, and a lot of people hate it, although some people love it. The newer printing that they did of Seven Wonders removed it. It's just not in there because there's seven. Go get Seven Wonders Duel.
Get
instead.
Duel. Exactly. Get Duel. It's fantastic.
Spend more money.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I am very sorry to say that I believe that completes our set of alphabet and number games. It has been quite the journey. I very much appreciate all of you coming and watching us and having fun with us. As always, I'm Eric. I'm here with my babe, Tiffany. We are with Steven. We are with Lloyd. And we are with JJ. And together, we are Just Got Played. We very much appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. We plan on making some more series. Tentatively, our plan is to go to gaming through mechanisms, and I believe we're going to start with a draft. What kind of draft? Closed draft.
We're going to have a closed drafting video, and then I think our next one to follow after that is going to be dice chuckers.
Excellent. That sounds like fun. So keep coming back. We have a lot more content coming for you. Keep telling us how we're wrong in the comments, but don't miss any. So make sure you thumb and subscribe. And then while you're at it, there's going to be a Discord link right down here. Click a Discord link, come in there, hang out with us, tell us how we're wrong in there. We'll be happy to argue with you all day. Come and hang out with us. We're very lonely people. We only know the 5 of us. That's it. So we need more friends. So once again, thank you. We are Just Got Played. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight and for this entire series. And happy gaming, y'all.
Come on, kids, let's sing the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Now I will never forget how to say the alphabet. That was fun.